Message. Reverend John.
Thank you so much. Reverend John again. Again? Good morning again, my spiritual family, and greetings and blessings to all who join us on the World Wide Web. It's no coincidence, although Steve Golding and myself always say it's a co-incident. In other words, something happening by divine synchronicity. That right in the midst of the world's preparations to celebrate the birth of Jesus, the way shower, we were blessed to be part of the blessing of little Theo Amir Francis this morning. At the Parents and Godparents Counseling session that I was telling you about last week, I took him from Tricia at the very end so that I could just get a feel, and he would get to know how we each other feel before we come up on the stage in front of everybody and, bungle it. So I had a little practice hold of him. And as I took him in my arms, the beautiful song, "Mary, Did You Know?" just popped into my mind, The song wonders whether Mary knew that her child would become the great way shower, the revealer of humankind's divinity. Right there, cradled in my arms, was the promise of a brighter tomorrow, not just for our nation, but for all nations and for all people. And I felt the assurance that together we really could create a world that works for all people, not just a few privileged, but all people. And another favorite of mine came to mind. That song, "Do You Hear What I Hear?" You know that song? Do you know what I know? And so I go home, and here is how the universe works. When a song just sticks in your mind, and you're singing it over and over, and then you turn on the radio, and what is on it? The same song, and then you pass a man on the street, and what is he whistling or humming? The same song. But I go home with this, "Do you know what I know?" in my mind, and I get an email from my friend Reverend David Ault of the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, who has sent me this wonderful explanation of how this carol came into being and a metaphysical interpretation of what it means. Reverend Ault points out that most of us think of carols as something old, and we've been hearing them for years, and they're quite ancient, and some of us have our favorites, and we know, if not all of them, a verse or two, and we can sing that over and over and over because we don't know the whole carol, but that's cool. We love it, and we hear it every Christmas. Sometimes I get a little distressed because it's now starting from like September and October, and that's too early for me to begin Christmas singing. It puts me in a slight panic, and I have to resort to meditation and deep prayer. But "Do You Hear What I Hear?" and listen to this, is only as old as Jamaica is as a nation. It was written in 1962, and the story of how it came to be written is quite fascinating to me. At the time that it was written, something else earth-shattering was happening in the world. Because in 1962, for 13 days in October, America and the Soviet Union were involved in a crisis centered on missiles that the Russians had installed in Cuba. So it became known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. Well, in the midst of all of this, with the world holding its breath, a French-born songwriter named Noel Regne and his American pianist wife, Gloria Shayne, were commissioned by a record producer to write a carol. But they were reluctant. They said, "No, Christmas is already too commercialized. Fancy that. 1962, I wonder what they would say about today." Anyway, as we Science of Mind students know, the universe has exquisite ways of orchestrating life, doesn't it? Here we have a songwriter named, of all names, Noel. And listen to this further piece of the universe's just amazing ability to pull things together. They have one daughter, and her name is Gabrielle. Noel? We have one too. The maestro Dexter. And so he's reluctant to write this carol, this Christmas song. And they're living in Manhattan, and he's walking through Manhattan. Remember, it's in the middle of October, and the world is waiting with bated breath to see what's going to happen as the two superpowers face off against each other. And he walks the streets of Manhattan, and he's looking into the sad, sad eyes of men and women walking the streets. And he just can't find it in his heart. Can't find a song in his heart to sing. It's a sad time. And again, this is how God works, friends. He's about to go into his apartment block or whatever, on his street. And he sees two mothers pushing their babies in strollers. And suddenly, they remind him of little lambs. Innocent and pure and trusting and loving. And the inspiration just floods him. And right there, in the middle of a world that's hanging on a precipice with the mushroom-shaped cloud of doubt and fear and anxiety hanging over humanity, a song is born in the heart of a songwriter and his wife. And I'm sure you know this beautiful, simple song. David Ault, it begins with the night wind says to a little lamb. And David Ault says, it's like that knee bone is connected to the thigh bone is connected to the waist. It's one of those songs, which builds. And it starts with the most fundamental and pure thing in life, the night wind. We sing here in this church, o'er our blue mountain descends that sweet angel song. We can feel the breeze blowing off the mountains, can we? When come December and we say, Christmas breeze a blow. It feels like Christmas. And friends, nature isn't concerned about crises. Those are human constructs, aren't they? I have a dear friend who has just retired and relocated to Jamaica. And he was getting a hassle over opening a bank account here. The paperwork took hours, and he recounted his frustration at great length as we sat in my living room, the front door open, feeling the Christmas breeze blowing through. Every last detail, the banks want to know how much hair on your head and how many references you have, and, what time you go to bed at night, and I won't go any further. But as he was talking, and, he talked for half an hour, which meant that he was calling in more of the same. Because, whatever we give our attention to becomes our experience. And I'm trying to say, but I don't know, but my bank is quite wonderful. Yes, I know there is bureaucracy and paperwork, but no more than you have in Washington, where I come from. And at that moment, my neighbor's cat, and her name is Skettel. That's because she has had a litter every heat from the beginning of time. I told the church about Skettel, didn't you, one Sunday. The other cat in the house was having her first litter, and when the first kitten came, she freaked out. She didn't know what to do. And Skettel, who is an experienced lady of the night, was also pregnant again, went over and helped to deliver that cat's babies, pushed the firstborn towards the mother cat so that it could begin to suckle, cleaned it for her, and showed her what to do. Nature. So the mystery of this time of year begins with nature. And so, that song begins with the night wind saying to a little lamb, symbol of purity and innocence and wholeness and joy, do you see what I see? Do you see a star of wisdom leading us to the discovery of the Christ in every person? Do you see how it illumines the darkness of ignorance and superstition and nenge and backbiting? Do you see how it dances above our earthly frustrations with a tail as big as a kite, dancing in a night that is fraught with real or imagined dangers? My front door is open and I'm talking to my friend about the frustrations of opening a bank account. An open front door. But so many of us, as dark fall, what we do? Lock the door and make certain the grill also lock. But friends, nature knows the secret that man has sought with all his heart and all his soul and all his mind for all of eternity. Do you see? That's the first of the senses, you know. Can you use your 5 sensory senses to see the star of wisdom that can guide us to the discovery of who we really are, the Christ in perfect and perpetual potential? And now the communication moves up the rung of the ladder to the next rung, where a creature, a little lamb, turns to someone that he trusts, someone that is a symbol to him of protection and nurturing and love, a little shepherd boy. And since we have gender equality, it could be a little shepherd girl, although I wouldn't make my girl pick me out there in the middle of the night, but a little shepherd girl or boy. And the little lamb asks the shepherd boy or girl, do you hear what I hear? This is a very important question, friends, from this little lamb. The little lamb is asking us, can you hear above the clamor of daily life? Yesterday there was a taxi behind me honking for all it was worth. Could I hear above the clamor and the clang and the dissonance of human experience a voice that says, be still. Be still and know. Be still and know what, friends? That I am Almighty God. Can you hear the universal vibration of divine love, my friends, above the sound systems? And where I live, I see my neighbors here, we have lots of it. And MCs who think that they can get the crowd excited by bellowing, you know. You all right, everybody okay? Above that, can you hear? Can you hear the song of life? Can you hear it in your heart, in your consciousness, in your soul? It is a lullaby. It is a love song. It is a call to know Christ at the deepest part of your very being. And so the first 2 questions are, can you see beyond your human limitations, and can you hear the truth? A truth, my friends, that's so life-transforming that it has a voice as big as the sea. Listen, my friends, listen! Listen with your inner ear to the song of creation. The song high above the trees, with a voice so big, so beautiful, so pure, that every time you sing, every time you speak, every time you say a prayer, you are using that voice to the honor and glory of your Creator. But now, as we say in Jamaica, big things are going on. And so our shepherd boy or girl needs to share his or her conviction about something momentous and important. And so he goes directly to the mighty king. Notice, doesn't go to his parents or his caregiver, doesn't go to his teacher at school or the guidance counselor. You know why? My view. Too often when they come to us, we're too busy to listen. We're too busy to hear. And so you say, yeah, man, go tell your mother. Bless the mothers. Daddy, the kitchen is on fire. That's nice, darling. Go and tell mommy. Because we're not really listening. And so the little boy goes to what? The mighty king. And you know what I think that mighty king represents? Our ability to make conscious choice. Because when our consciousness, when we say consciously, I will take care of this baby. I will shoulder the responsibilities of parenting. I will cease to be judgmental and critical of my fellow human beings. I will praise God. I will make my whole life a carol of praise and a hymn of thanksgiving and a psalm of worship. When you make that conscious choice, it's a mighty king of your ability to think consciously. And the little innocent, pure child of you that trusts the universe, that takes care of the little lamb, the little scared part of you that needs to be nurtured. That little child is saying, do you know what I know? Do you know that at the heart of every person reposes the splendor and the beauty and the joy of Almighty God? In your palace warm, mighty King, in your gated communities, safe with your family, do you know that there are homeless children? Do you know that there are people on the streets who don't know where the next meal is coming from? Mighty King, do you know what I know? I have just come trailing clouds of glory from the source, and he wants me to tell everyone here of our potentiality to be the Christ, just as Jesus would. And so let us offer our Christ child the silver and gold of our devotion, our diligence, our loyalty, and our prayer work this Christmas. And as Reverend David Ault put it, and I quote, we do not have the luxury, this child is saying, of even one negative thought. We can't afford to hang on to negatives, for when we do, we're preventing ourselves from accessing the truth, unquote. And so our innocent, pure child self is saying to the mighty King part of us, we have to humble ourselves. In Matthew 18, verse 3, the Master tells us, and I quote, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. End of that scripture. In other words, we have to turn back and connect with the purity of the child presence within us. And what happens? The mighty King of our intellect and consciousness was moved by what the child said. And so he decrees to the people everywhere, listen to what I say. Just think about your conscious mind saying, listen to what I say. I will live the Christ life. I will talk the Christ talk. I will walk the Christ walk. I will let my own life be a carol in the darkness of human ignorance and understanding. I will let my soul shine like that astral star of divine guidance, so that as my light shines, it can lead others to the discovery of God in the stable of their own lives. Said the night wind to the little lamb. Can we sing it together? You know it? Said the night wind to the little lamb. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Way up in the sky. Way up in the sky, little lamb. Do you see what I see? A star. A star, star, dancing in the night with a tune as big as a kite. With a tail Said the lamb to the shepherd boy. Lamb to the shepherd boy. Do you hear? Hear what I hear? Bring it to the sky. Bring it to the sky, shepherd boy. Do you hear what I hear? A song, a song, a song. High above the trees with a voice as big as the sea. With a voice as big as the sea. Send the shepherd boy to the mighty king. Do you know? Do you know what I know? In your palace warm, mighty king. Do you know what I know? A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Send the king to the people everywhere. Listen, listen to what I say. Pray for peace. Pray for peace, people everywhere. Listen to what I say. The child, sleeping in the night, he will bring us goodness and light. He will bring us goodness and light. Do you know what I know? That God is in radiant expression in our lives this Christmas, my friends. And here's another amazing synchronicity. A couple of days ago, it might have been Wednesday or Thursday, I said to Steve Golding, asked him whether he knew the song, and he said, well, man, we are singing it at the concert Wednesday evening. I said, my God, it's the title of my talk. Do you know what I know? Don't miss the concert this evening, because there's going to be a rendition of it that will blow your socks off. If you don't wear socks, whatever you do wear. And so you have an assignment. I know me give it, this time it's the king. Pray for peace. Let your life this Christmas be a prayer of peace. Absolutely no negatives. Absolutely no judgment. Absolutely no criticism. Bless everyone whom you encounter. And say in your heart to each and every person, the Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. Would you say that to your neighbor? The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. My friends, the Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. Namaste.